Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on Muslim in the global workplace. I am Wael Wazani, and I will be moderating today's workshop. And before we start, I just would like to point to some technical faculties of this workshop. Is that this live is broadcasted live, and you can ask questions in the chat or comments. And also, this live will be this webinar, this professional training will be accessible to you after the live ends on YouTube. Uh, Also, we welcome and absolutely encourage your participation, be it in the form of questions, comments, or anything else. Those questions are going to be shown to the other viewers of the live broadcast. So let's get started. I will start by telling you what we hope we'll be able to learn by the end of this webinar. We hope that by the end of this webinar, you will be able to understand cultural and religious considerations for Muslim professionals in non-Muslim workplaces, that will learn norms around greetings, dietary restrictions, and holidays for Muslims, develop strategies to navigate religious practices, improve communication to address sensitive situations, identify steps for employers and employees to foster inclusion. So, by the end, you will be able to apply solutions to challenges like alcohol-free meals, etc. We'll talk more about that. So, without any further ado, I will introduce our speakers that we are very glad to have with us tonight. Malak is joining me. Let's see.
Hello, my name is Malak. I am an intercultural communication coach, and I'm really looking forward to doing this with you guys. I really hope that our viewers will be watching us, who will be watching us, will be really satisfied, and hopefully they will get to learn a lot of new things with us today.
Thank you, Malak. Then we'll have Bashir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bashir. I am a clinical psychologist, and I will be talking about the practical workarounds to face challenges in the workplace.
Thank you, Mr. Bashir. Mr. Islam?
Hello, my name is Islam, and I'm the HR representative, and I will be talking as well about some practical workarounds in the workplace.
Thank you, Islam. Shahd?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is Shahd. I'm a consultant, and I'll be talking about policy developments. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Shahd. So, let me tell you more before I give the floor to our presenters. To tell you more about why should we care. I think we should care because Muslims in the workplace, we live in a global workplace. Today, the global workplace is increasingly diverse, and it is a trend that is not likely to be stopping in the future. So, cultural awareness and sensitivity has become of the utmost importance in today's workplace. So, and also it is tailored for the Moroccan global future workplace, because we all know that Morocco is no stranger to those dynamics with increasing foreign investments, etc. So, and also Moroccans are increasingly migrating to other countries, and where there are some cultural differences that they should learn more about. And also, sadly, Islamophobia is rising in the world, and I think we will all gain by understanding more about Islam. I will now leave the space to Malak, who is going to tell us more about cultural awareness. Malak, you have the floor.
Thank you, Muad. Let's start by clarifying what we mean by Islamic practices. As you may know, Islam is not just a religion in the conventional sense, it's a way of life. It encompasses everything from daily routines to major life events, guided by the teachings of the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. For example, one of the most well-known practices is the observance of Eid celebrations. There are two major Eids in Islam, as you may know: Eid al-Iftar, which marks the end of Ramadan, the month of fasting, and Eid al-Adha, the festival of sacrifice. These are times of joy, community, gratitude, often celebrated with family gatherings, special prayers, and charitable acts. Another key practice is adhering to halal dietary needs. Halal refers to what is permissible under Islamic law, and this applies not only to food, but also to other aspects of life. For instance, Halal food must be prepared in specific ways, such as avoiding pork and alcohol, which we will be talking about later, and ensuring animals are slaughtered humanly, for example. These practices are deeply rooted in faith, but they also reflect a broader cultural identity that shapes how Muslims interact with the world around them. And yes, Islam is indeed a religion that spans all walks of life. Now, you might wonder, why is Islam described as a lifestyle and not just a faith? The answer lies in its holistic approach to life. Islam provides guidance on everything from personal hygiene and dress codes to business ethics and social interactions. For example, the concept of modesty in Islam extends beyond clothing. It influences behavior, speech, and even how one conducts themselves in public spaces. Similarly, the practice of praying 5 times a day isn't just a ritual. It's a way to maintain mindfulness, discipline, and a connection to God throughout the day. This lifestyle aspect is indeed what makes Islam so unique. It's not confined to a place of worship or specific times of the year. It's woven into the fabric of daily life. This is why you'll find Muslims around the world adhering to these practices, regardless of their cultural or geographic background. While while Islam is indeed a global religion, it's important to recognize the diversity within it. Islamic traditions can vary significantly depending on cultural context. For instance, the way Eid is celebrated in Indonesia might look really different from how it's celebrated in Morocco or Egypt. These differences arise from local customs, historical influences, and interpretations of Islamic teachings. However, despite this diversity, the core principles of Islam remain the same. This unity in diversity is one of the most beautiful aspects of the human and Muslim world. So let us take a moment to look at a practical example of how cultural awareness can resolve misunderstandings. Consider a scenario where a non-Muslim colleague mistakenly interrupts a Muslim coworker during their prayer times. Without understanding the significance of prayer in Islam, this could lead to frustration or tension. However, with just a little bit of cultural awareness, the colleague might learn that these few minutes of prayer are a sacred time for reflection and connection to God. This understanding can foster respect and harmony in the workplace. This example is one that highlights why it's just so important to educate ourselves about different cultural practices. It helps us build stronger, more inclusive communities. So, to summarize, Islamic practices are deeply rooted in faith but extend far beyond it, shaping a holistic lifestyle for Muslims around the world. By understanding these practices and diversity within them, we can foster greater cultural awareness and create more inclusive environments. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your questions later in the webinar.
Thank you, Malak. This was an important message at the end. I will now leave the floor to Islam, who's going to tell us more about religious practices. Islam, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Malak and Muad, for that great insight. Now I'll be sharing with you some practical strategies or workarounds to help you thrive professionally while still staying true to your values. Getting started with handshakes. Now, a lot of Muslims have been in that awkward situation where someone from the opposite gender in front of them wants to shake hands or hug, and things like backslapping. And if you, as a Muslim, that is not something you feel comfortable doing, you may find yourself petrified and shaking like a deer in headlights, and you don't really know how you're supposed to address that situation. Now, the good news is there are a lot of approaches you can take to make the situation less awkward. First thing I would suggest is, if you are comfortable with your team and you don't mind having that conversation with them, then be open about it. Like, guys, it would be easier for me if I didn't shake hands with the opposite gender. Is that okay? And explain that this is part of your religion, and just be polite and respectful about it. Now, Of course, in the workplace, you don't just have to deal with your teammates, but oftentimes you'll be dealing with people who you don't really know. So of course, if you can avoid it and you think that would be fine, you can do something like a hand clutched at the chest and do like a slight bow, like a Japanese samurai. And generally, people tend to find that quite appropriate. Well, now we're going to move on to another topic, which is also a very common situation that Muslims in the global workplace struggle with, which is alcohol and drinking culture. As we know, alcohol is a big no-no for Muslims. It's not just forbidden to drink it, but it's also forbidden to sit in the same table where alcohol is being drunk. And unfortunately, so much of the corporate world revolves around drinking. Having networking events in bars after work or meeting clients at nightclubs sometimes. This is something you may experience if you decide to work somewhere in Europe or in the US, for example. And for a Muslim, it may be very hard to deal with. When also trying to progress and, network and feel included. But fortunately, it is possible to get around these things, these kinds of issues, if you just take the bull by the horns. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it simply means that you get proactive when people are organizing the night out. What night out they want to go on instead. Like, why don't you just be proactive and take that responsibility? You can take them, for example, to a restaurant, that doesn't have a bar, or like one that has a very small bar. Or you can take them to like a VR arcade, as we can see in the pictures next, or a mini golf, or maybe a cinema. And this will not just enable you to stick to your beliefs while interacting with your coworkers, but you'll also be very much appreciated for taking charge of things and being proactive in the team, because let's be honest, everyone loves to have things taken off their plate. Now to the third point. Well, first of all, what if that doesn't work? I'm sorry. What if, you suggest is, what if, I'm sorry. Now, what if that doesn't work? What if you cannot be the one, suggesting the place to go or whatever? Now, what I would suggest in this case is to simply go to them, like go with them to whatever place they're going to, and just leave early. You can walk away before they start drinking, or before they start taking turns for the nightclub. And people will mostly appreciate you just showing up, and if they already know you and then they know your beliefs, etc., then they will most likely be understanding. Now to the third point, finally, which is being different in an environment. We know that is always difficult, especially for women, because in most cases, it's women that usually stand out because of the hijab, and other non-Muslim women usually dress up in a very particular way, and there tends to be some anxiety around this topic. So the good news is modest fashion is currently a thing, and it has taken off very spectacularly in the late years, and there are a lot of options now. You can just do a quick search and you will load a lot of long dresses that you can wear, that a woman, for example, can wear, that can also be stylish and corporate-y. At the same time, they will tick the box of your Islamic morals and duties. Those were three common situations. I will leave my teammate Bashir to talk about three more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Islam. The presentation was great, and we apologize for the problems we had this with the slides moving. I apologize about that. The computer unfortunately froze, but fortunately enough, this won't be happening with our next presenter, Bashir. You have the floor.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Muad and Islam, for your insightful presentation. I will now continue from here and talk about prayer. So, this is a problem that in most cases can easily be resolved. Most companies these days will have empty meeting rooms that you can book, or they might have a quiet space that's already there for you to pray in. There might even be a masjid nearby where you can practice your faith. Worst case scenario, you can go outside and pray in a park or any open area. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the entire earth is a masjid for us. So there really shouldn't be any issues in the regard of finding a place to pray. This is when it comes to the space of prayer. As for making the time for prayer, this is on you to manage your own workload and set your own boundaries. Consider having a dedicated time, a prayer time in your calendar so that no one else does a meeting at that time, and so that other people are aware that this is something that you do daily. And particularly for Jumu'ah, I would highly recommend you have that blocked out in your calendar so that people are aware of it and you don't get calls put in at the wrong time. Something I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, is that in Islam, we are required to pray even if we are in a warfare situation. How crazy is that? We are required to pray even if we are in a life or death situation. And I have to break it to you, in the corporate world, we are not in a life or death situation. So we have to pray. Muad, please. Next slide. Moving on to different values. Naturally, in the workplace, as friendships develop, people might ask you certain questions that could make you uncomfortable. You might be in a position where you don't know how to respond. So learning how to navigate through this situation is incredibly important. Now, the first thing I would recommend is doing research on all of the actual hot topics, present topics. So like this, no one takes you by surprise and you know what to say. Also, even if you have some really strong views about a certain thing, it is important to remember that others might perceive you a certain way if you speak about the subject in a certain way. So remember and put in mind that you are there for your work, not to debate on any topic, because how you conduct yourself there and the emotion you bring could have a negative effect. I am not saying do not talk about these issues, but use hikmah and wisdom as the Quran teaches. I would also like to add that if you don't know the answer, it is perfectly fine to say, hey, look, I'll do some research and get back to you. Now, before I pass the floor on to my next teammate, I want to make a statement. We shouldn't be living double lives. What we are doing in the workplace should be what we do at home. Islam is a beautiful religion, and we should embrace it and feel comfortable practicing it in any environment. Ultimately, you are there to do a job and are paid to do certain tasks. How successful you are in completing these tasks is what will determine your progression through the ranks. In most cases, this is what you will be judged on. However, if the organization is not judging you on that, I feel like it's better if you change the organization. You don't need to change yourself. And if you're indispensable to your organization, they will bend backwards for you, for your needs, and make sure that you stay no matter the person you are. Thank you for listening. I will now
Thank you
pass the
so much,
floor
Bashir.
on to my next teammate.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful message, and I think if there is something that we need to get from this workshop is this idea that we should, no matter what condition, should always try to conciliate between those. Thank you so much, Bashir. I will now give the floor to Shad. Shad, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you, Bashir, for the great insights. So, hello everyone, my name is Shahd, and I'm honored to speak today about an essential aspect of workplace inclusivity policy development. So, as companies embrace global talents, ensuring that policies accommodate employees of all backgrounds, including Muslims, isn't just a legal or ethical obligation. It's a key factor in building a positive, high performing work environment. So, when employees feel respected, they're more engaged, more motivated, and committed to their roles. So today I will focus on 3 practical areas where companies can make a real difference. For starters, how small offices can create prayer spaces, cost effective DEI training for employers, and how workplace satisfaction metrics can measure the impact of these policies. So let's start with the importance of prayer spaces. So, creating prayer spaces in small offices for Muslim employees. Prayer is an essential part of the day. However, a common challenge is the lack of quiet, private space to pray at work. While larger companies may have dedicated rooms, small offices often struggle to provide these accommodations. With that being said, creating a prayer-friendly workplace does not require major renovations or high costs, so these are some practical low-cost solutions. Utilizing multi-purpose rooms, spaces like wellness rooms, break rooms, or quiet areas can double as prayer spaces. Privacy screens or partitions, if a separate room isn't available, a small designated corner with a portable partition can offer the necessary privacy. And flexible scheduling. Allow brief flexible break times ensures employees can pray without affecting productivity. So these small adjustments foster an environment where employees can feel valued and respected, ultimately leading to a better workplace morale and retention. Number 2, cost-effective DEI training for employers. What DEI stands for is diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI training is key to creating a supportive workplace. Many companies recognize its importance but hesitate due to cost concerns. And the good news is that meaningful DEI training doesn't have to be expensive. So here are some budget-friendly strategies for employers. Number 1, online DEI courses. Platforms like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, and even YouTube can offer affordable, high-quality training on religious inclusivity. Communication partnerships, businesses can collaborate with local mosques or interfaith organizations for guest speakers and workshops. Internal learning programs, encouraging open discussions within teams where employees can share their experiences, can be just as impactful as internal learning. So, by implementing the DEI training, employers can build awareness, reduce bias, and foster a culture of respect. When colleagues understand the significance of religious practices, misunderstandings decrease and workplace harmony improves. Let's move on to measuring workplace satisfaction. This one is very important. So, the success of inclusivity policies isn't just theoretical, it's measurable. So, companies that actively track employee satisfaction before and after implementing inclusive policies can see a drastic impact in real numbers. So, some key workplace metrics to track include employee satisfaction surveys, which works by conducting anonymous surveys before and after changes, can reveal whether employees feel more supported. Next is retention rates. Are Muslim employees staying with the company longer with these policies? And productivity, engagement levels. Employees who feel valued tend to be more productive and engaged in their work. For instance, a company that implemented a small player space and DEI training might see a 20 to 30% increase in positive employee feedback, if possible. So visual aids such as bar graphs or before and after metrics can illustrate how inclusive policies benefit both employees and the company. But beyond the data, data, we must remember the human impacts. Employees who feel respected and accommodated are more likely to contribute meaningfully, stay loyal to the company, and recommend it to others. Let's move on to the conclusion. To wrap up, creating an inclusive workplace for Muslim employees doesn't require, a huge investment. It's about small but meaningful changes. And by implementing simple yet effective solutions like prayer spaces, affordable DEI trainings, and tracking workplace satisfaction, businesses can foster a culture of belonging and respect. Ultimately, inclusion isn't just about people. When employees feel supported, they perform better, collaborate more effectively, and bring their best selves into work. So I highly encourage businesses to take these steps. Continuously evaluate their policies and remain always open to feedback. So, by doing so, you're not just accommodating religious diversity, you're strengthening your workforce and as a whole. So, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to the discussion ahead. Please feel free to ask any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shahd, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Uh, Shad, you've been the last, but not least, of our speakers, and I would like to seize this occasion to share a few thoughts that I've had as a moderator and as a speaker. Uh, it is I just want to highlight, as I said in the introduction, that Islamophobia is today a rising trend. Unfortunately, the more and more Moroccan skilled workers are turning to expatriation. They move to the West, as we call it. They tend to move to other countries, France, and some countries that are notable for their Islamophobia that is sometimes allowed by law. And we all know the most extreme cases of France and others. And I think it is of the utmost importance for people to learn about those tactics and to make sure that they're well equipped and they know exactly what awaits them in that endeavor. So something else that I would like to point out is that we hope that we didn't paint too gloomy of a picture of how the workplace is. Truth is, and we hope that for you, you won't ever have to deal with those kinds of situations. Maybe Islamophobia is rising, but also as is cultural awareness, etc. So if I was to share some more thoughts, would be for you to take our advice and to make sure to and also this struggle starts with where do you choose to your employment. There are a wide range of questions that you should ask yourself, and uh, not only about salary, etc., etc., but also about your religious satisfaction and whether that will be guaranteed and will be upheld, sorry, for you in that future workplace. So those are questions that you shouldn't ignore, and that I hope we offered you some strategies that will help you in understanding that. Uh, I will now leave the floor to Bashir, who will also share some of his thoughts.
Thank you, Muad, for your very insightful conclusion. And I agree with you. Right now, lots of people are moving to Western societies, and sometimes they find it difficult to balance between their religion and uh, and uh, and their work or their personal life. So it's very important that they go with a clear goal in mind. That way, they're able to make sure that they don't lose track of their religion. Because if we go back to core human values, some people might put religion at the center, while others might put family or country. And I would say that in Morocco, many people are considering religion as one of their core values. but when they go abroad, they kind of put a distance between their true religion and their and who they are. What do you think, Muad?
I think you're absolutely right, and it is interesting because we're running into some philosophical considerations here. Sorry, we're running some into philosophical consideration, and those are important issues to be talked about. Thank you so much, Bashir. And now we open the floor for questions. If anyone of the speakers would like to say something else, you're invited in the floor. After all, it is your webinar. And please do not hesitate to ask as many questions as you want. All right, we have a question by Jihan. What are the best religion practices in Ramadan that the Prophet did? Anyone would like to join to hop on floor and answer that question? Okay, I think that I will answer it myself. Um, There are many practices in Ramadan. We shouldn't forget that, as Malak rightfully pointed out, Islam is a holistic religion. So all of those questions are dealt for. We should never forget that. Those are questions that are dealt for, that we should only turn to the texts. And I'm sure we will all find at least a modicum of an answer to those questions if we did. And I'm sure that the life of the Prophet, as seen in the Sunnah, uh, offers at the very least a start for those questions to be answered. Thank you, Jan, for this insightful question. Now there's a question by Yunus Kitani. What if a company doesn't want to hire me because I have a beard? They think I'm a terrorist. And okay, anyone would like to answer? Islam.
Eunice, that was kind of funny to read, but first of all, if a company doesn't want to hire you because of the way you look, because you have a beard, then that tells you a lot about their principles and the way they're going to treat you. So it's probably best for you if they don't hire you. That was my answer.
Exactly, Islam. And I'm sorry that you faced Islamophobia that way. We have anyone would like something to Yunus, or should we move on to the next question? Okay, we have a question by Lina. What advice do you have for young Muslim professionals navigating corporate environments? Anyone? Malak, would you like to answer?
Yes, I would like to. First of all, I'd like to add something to the last question. So, actually, most of the time, the HR employers, or I wouldn't say the actual employers of the company or the organization, but uh, those who do the hiring and recruiting in the HR department, they have some sort of laws and policies that they have to follow. And well, some of them say that they actually shouldn't rely on aspects like physical aspects or like physical, like the beard, like the viewer is saying. These are some things that shouldn't be taken into consideration. So for the question of Lina, I would say you should believe in yourself first and foremost. But also, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. So the question is, what advice do you have for young Muslim professionals navigating corporate environments? I would say stay confident in your identity, but also be proactive in demonstrating your skills first and foremost, and try your best to seek as many supportive networks as you can.
100% agreed. We have a question by Kautal. I think that Shad would like to answer this question. Shad, you have the floor.
Absolutely, yes. So, where's the question? I can't see it.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Apologies. There it is.
So, how can small offices create prayer spaces for Muslim employees without significant costs? Yeah, great question, Koted. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of ways that companies can create prayer spaces for Muslim employees. The practical ones are maybe small offices. You can use multi-purpose rooms, privacy screens, or flexible break times to create prayer spaces without major renovations. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the question, Kotzed.
Thank you for your answer. And I agree that small offices,
Yes,
in small offices, I think this is when you should actually take the step and actually talk to them and ask them about some different solution or simply ask them for extra breaks. I'm sure that with,
exactly. They're going to be
if
understanding for
yeah,
sure. For sure.
definitely, yes.
Yes.
I move to a question by user Akemi. Does praying outside look odd in non-Muslim countries? Anyone would like to answer?
You mean?
Bashir?
Okay, does praying outside look odd in non-Muslim countries? This is actually a good question because if I were a Western person and I saw somebody praying in the middle of nowhere, I would be surprised or maybe even curious. Like I would wonder what that person is doing. So it might stand out, but mostly I don't think people really notice, or sometimes they're just curious. Uh, s- if it's done respectfully and in a safe place, it's generally not a problem.
This is totally agreed, and as I said, this is an increasingly diverse world. So unless you're a place that is well known for Islamophobia, I think you have nothing to worry about.
But can I add something?
Yes, of course.
Like in Morocco, if you see somebody praying outside, you find it very normal, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's mostly with the Western societies where they don't see this as a part of their everyday experience.
Yes, definitely. Uh, yes. Okay. Ikram, you have the floor. What's the question you desire to answer? You are muted. We cannot hear you.
I forgot to unmute myself. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I actually wanted to follow up on the question that Bashir answered as to how weird it is to pray outside. That will definitely depend on the country and the place you're working at. If it's a country with a lot of Muslims in it, then probably it will be less weird because people are used to seeing Muslims pray and all. Like in the the UK, pardon me, there are a lot of Muslims who pray outside in the workplaces, etc. So it will not be as weird. But if you go to France, for example, uh, you may get you, you may get some weird looks, or you may even go to prison. You never know. So, in conclusion, it all depends on the country and the percentage of Muslim people there.
Yeah, definitely. We have Yunus asking another question. You have many questions, Yunus, but we're happy to answer those. Malak, you have the floor.
So yeah, the question is, what should I do if I don't find any halal food to eat in the company or nearby? I'd say if there is no halal food, try your best to bring your own meals, request halal options from HR because you can actually, if you politely request halal options in the cafeteria or whatever area you can eat in. You can actually get accommodated for your dietary needs, and especially if multiple employees are making similar requests. You can also choose vegetarian or vegan dishes or order from halal restaurants online. You could check if like there is any food delivery services like Uber Eats, DoorDash, that offer halal options. And you can also try to connect with colleagues who are facing similar challenges.
All right. Thank you, Malak. I think we have time for one more question. Let me check. Let me check. We have action by user Yasrem. What advice do you have for Muslim parents living abroad? How can they help their child cope with racism in school? Who would like to answer this question? Anyone? Okay, Islam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ad.
No
So
problem.
this question doesn't really have to do with our main topic, which is how to behave as a Muslim in a non-Muslim workplace or in the global workplace. This is about educating your child in a foreign country where there is racism and stuff. Well, thank you, Yasrem, for this question. I suggest looking into content that gives advice on how to educate your children in a foreign country, and I believe there are a lot of ahadith and a lot of scholars are talking about this topic, so you will find a lot of answers by just looking it up.
All right, everyone. It was great answering your questions. I will add you to the scene. It was great answering your questions, and I see that I'm laughing because you have so many questions that unfortunately we don't have time to all answer. But you can always contact us. Our emails are in the description. And thank you so much for this night. I hope that you have learned, and we have thoroughly enjoyed participating and speaking in this webinar. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.